And good morning. Just a quick reminder as we get ourselves going, just something to think about. Your positive action combined with positive thinking results in success. Do something, have that positive mindset, and then have that action that gets you to where you want to go. Here we go. We're getting ourselves started now. So, our focus this morning, right off the bat, is going to be some basic math skills, and our first one that we're going to start with is right here, just rounding decimals, just to kind of make sure that we all know how to do this. Hopefully it's review for you, but if not, make sure you watch and listen carefully. Alright, here's just a chart of some of the place value locations. Notice that my cutoff is the decimals as I'm going, that decimal point as I'm going this way. We got those groups of 3. As I'm going to the right of the decimal point, again, make note, every one of those place values ends in that THS. So if you see the TH on that notation, then you know that we're talking about a place to the right of the decimal point. It is okay to look at charts like this as you're going through this so that you make sure that you're choosing the right location. Now, let's talk about the rounding part of it. It's all about just making a good approximation. We're wanting to make a reasonable choice. And so step 1 is find the place value for rounding. So use that chart, and then once you do that, you basically have 2 potential answers for rounding off appropriately. After you decide that place value location, you're going to look at the digit that's just to the right of whatever place value we're talking about. And then there are 2 choices for that digit. It's less than 5, which means you're going to round off. I don't like to say round down because we're not going to change the digits at all as we're rounding off. Or it's 5 or bigger, which means we're going to round up in that spot. Okay, so let's look at a couple of examples and see what that means. Alright, so I've got this number and it says 12,873, so we're going to round it off to the hundreds. So what's the first thing we need to do? Find that place value. That's number 1 on the hit parade. So there's my number again. Where's the hundreds? Oh, there it is right there, so I'm making note of that right now. That's what I'm going to be rounding off to. Okay, so now my next step is to make note of where that decimal point is if it's not written. Why? Because if I'm rounding off to the left of the decimal point, then I'm 100% sure that these 2 spots are going to be filled with zeros. So I already know that going in, that I'm going to have at least 2 zeros right there in those 2 spots, in the 10s and the 1s. Okay, so after I make that determination about where am I rounding off, what's my next step? Look at the digit in the next place value to the right. So my 8 is in the hundreds location. That digit to the right of the 8 is a 7. Alright, so I'm looking at that number, and now I'm ready to make my decision. There are only 2 choices. It's less than 5 or it's 5 and larger. So I see it's a 7. It's 5 or larger, so that means I'm going to round up. So 12,900 is my correct answer. I go up 1 at this location because that's where I'm rounding. Again, because I have the decimal point right here, I knew for certain that these 2 were going to be zeros. I don't keep the 7 and the 3. I put zeros in because I'm rounding off to that point. I went up from the 8 to get the 9. Alright, and now we're done. 12,900, there's my answer. I rounded it off correctly. Let's do another example. So I have 23.2549 and I'm rounding off to the nearest hundredth. The TH tells me that it's going to be to the right of the decimal point. So what's the first thing? What's that place value? Where is the hundredths? Okay, so let's go put that in there. Hundredths right there. So that 5 is my hundreds. Now please make note of this, because we're to the right of the decimal point, hundreds is right here. I've got 1, 2 digits to the right of the decimal point. my answer when I round off will only have 2 digits. I am not putting zeros in here because I am to the right of the decimal point. Okay. Next, once I have decided where I'm rounding off, I need to look at that next digit to the right. So I'm rounding off right here at the hundredths. 1 digit to the right of that 5 is the 4. Okay? So now I've taken care of my 2 steps. Now I'm right here at my decision-making process. Again, I have selected to round here at the hundredths. I looked at the next digit over, and then again I only have 2 choices, and in this situation that digit is less than 5. Okay? And so because 4 is less than 5, that means I'm going to round off. So that means I'm going to just drop off the 49 at the end. I'm not ever going to change this digit when I'm rounding off. That's why I don't like to say round down, because sometimes people decide, no, I need to go down from here. No, it's either going to be a 5 or it's going to be a 6. Alright, because 4 is less than 5, it stays a 5. Again, notice no digits here after that. I've got just 1 to 2 digits in my answer that are to the right of the decimal place, because that's where the hundredths is, 2 decimal places. Okay? Alright, and so again, let's just review what we did. It's just about getting an approximation. Our first step was make the decision. What place value are we rounding at? Let's find that digit that's in that place value, which tells me I'm going to have 2 potential options for my answer. And then after that, I'm going to look at the digit that's 1 place to the right of that rounding location, and then I only have 2 choices for that digit. If it's less than 5, I'm going to round it off, which means drop it off. If I'm to the left of the decimal point, remember I'm putting the zeros in. Or it's 5 or larger, and so I'm going to round it up. All right? So at this point, let's get to the assignment. It's the rounding basics assignment that is in the course, and you got this. Get her done, dudes.